Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of April 8, 2024. I call the meeting to order and I'll ask everybody to rise to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Anna, will you please do the voice roll call?
Chair Arith is absent. Vice Chair Toller?
Here.
Commissioner Rojas?
Here.
Commissioner Zick?
Here.
Commissioner Andrade?
Here.
Commissioner Bavar?
Present.
Commissioner Klepak?
Present.
All right. Thank you, Anna. That brings us to announcements and presentations, and tonight is kind of a sad night because it is the last night of our colleague up here, Commissioner Jimmy Vivar. I have a proclamation for him commemorating his time of service here, which I'll read to everybody. A proclamation of the Planning Commission of the City of Costa Mesa commending Jimmy Vivar for his service on the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission of the City of Costa Mesa hereby proclaims, whereas Jimmy Vivar was sworn in as a member of the Costa Mesa Planning Commission on September 27, 2021, and was reappointed on January 17, 2023, and whereas Mr. Vivar served in the role of commissioner between September 2021 and 2024, and whereas Mr. Vivar contributed to the benefit of the community through careful and thoughtful deliberations and actions on significant applications, including development projects, use permits, policy documents, and ordinances, including the Costa Mesa Pedestrian Master Plan, Affordable Housing Ordinance, Outdoor Dining Ordinance, and Retail Cannabis Regulations, and whereas Mr. Vivar's sincere desire to serve the community and his professional background in traffic engineering, including his interest in the field of active transportation, provided insightful input for important land use, development project, and housing policy recommendations. And whereas Mr. Vivar fulfilled his responsibility as a planning commissioner in a conscientious and professional manner. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Costa Mesa Planning Commission hereby gratefully records and extends its sincere appreciation and the appreciation of the community to Jimmy Vivar for his faithful and excellent service on the Planning Commission, dated this 8th day of April, 2024. All right, so if it's all right with everybody, I'd like to move public comments down one step so that the commissioners could have our comments and suggestions, and I'll kick it off. Commissioner Vivar, you could go last. And I'll just say that I really appreciated having you up here. We're going to miss you up here. It's we've voted differently a lot, but I respect that you're like me and that you have principles and you stick to them and you have convictions. You always outdress me, especially tonight. And you obviously take this role very seriously, and I really respect that, and we're going to miss you. And we'll go to Commissioner Klepak.
Yeah, thank you for your service, Commissioner Vivar. It's been really fantastic sitting next to you these last 8 or 9 months, and you bring a really fantastic professional and personal experience to this role, and we'll really miss your perspective, and just thank you so much for everything that you brought to every single meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Andrade.
Yes, Commissioner Vivar, Jimmy, definitely, I wish you the best of luck in what you're doing next. I have truly been quite an honor to collaborate alongside you, learn quite a bit from you. Early on, you were one of those folks that immediately reached out to kind of give some background on what to expect while joining this group. So I really appreciate that, and I also agree you truly do bring a really holistic perspective. And being a long-time Costa Mesa resident for so many years, you truly have that ground level and community connection that these groups, all commissions, right, really essentially rely on. So we're going to miss you tons, but I know that I still have you on speed dial as opportunities come to be able to tap into your expertise and knowledge. So wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Zick.
Commissioner Vivar, I will miss having you up here. You were one of the most well-prepared commissioners. You asked a lot of very insightful questions, and they were very helpful, I think, in our reaching conclusions. I think you and I ended up on the same side of issues more often than not, and I think for that, more than any other reason, I'll probably miss you. Good luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Rojas.
No comments. Just kidding. Well, you know, Jimmy, you're going to be missed. Your insights, your perspectives, the way of looking at things. I know sitting on this side of the dais, as I've heard you ask questions, typically, the other commissioners, particularly Commissioner Zick, tends to ask the questions that I wanted to ask beforehand, but you've always been somebody who's actually had me think of things in a different way I hadn't considered them beforehand. Because of the way you think, the way you process the information, I've learned a lot from you, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you on a personal level. So I wish you the best, my friend. Congratulations on your family development and building your family, and all the best to you, my friend, as you go forward.
Thank you.
And that brings us to you, Commissioner Vivar.
All right. Well, I guess for the last time as a commissioner doing commissioner comments, I wanted to thank the community up here, all the community who has supported my tenure up here in the past 2.5 years. I know that I've made an impact on people's lives, as I've heard from people, but I've also had my own life impacted by the stories and the things that people have shared with me in the community. I also want to kind of extend the kind of warm greetings to my parents, Aaron and Maria, who are here as well, and my wife. I got recently married 2 days ago, so so it's kind of a real honor and pleasure to have them here. I remember the first day I started here, I was really nervous. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I got talked into this role by people on council, and I said, "Hey, it looks interesting," and I'll take it, and I did, and I don't regret it. It's been a interesting journey. There's been high highs and low lows. I think I've lost hair doing this role. I think I worry too much sometimes, and my parents and my wife would agree that I can be a worrier. But I've really enjoyed being up here and as well serving with all of you colleagues up here, Zick, Commissioner Zick, your expertise, and always asking very thoughtful questions and drilling into things, and Commissioner Rojas as well for your quiet kind of way of doing work, but asking very thoughtful questions when you do, and just being observant. Commissioner Andrade as well for being so passionate about the community and kind of serving District 4, as we're both kind of from the same area of the city, and Commissioner Andrade as well here, who I have served with last time, and when she said that she's been serving with me 7-8 months, I thought, gosh, has it really been that long? And it has, so time definitely flies up here. And Vice Chair Toller for your, as well for your working with you on things, and we definitely have disagreed on things, and it sometimes even comes from I guess wanting the same things, such as the kind of active transportation kind of goals and whatnot. But I've definitely enjoyed working with you up here and sparring with you. and I've also enjoyed as well serving with um, Chair Arith, who is sadly not here today, but who I've come to um, consider a good friend. He is the first one who reached out to me when I was appointed to the Planning Commission. Him and Commissioner Zig both reached out, and both welcomed me warmly to the Planning Commission and kind of answered my questions. But yeah, Commissioner Arith is as well very thoughtful, very kind of community oriented as well, and I've appreciated working with him. And Commissioner Arith, I don't know if you'll be listening to this at some point, but if you do, just wanted to thank you so much for everything you've done for me and helping me to onboard me, and as well to you know, helping me kind of develop as well as a commissioner. And I also want to extend a warm kind of gratitude to city staff who have been amazing as well. Mr. Scott Drapkin here started, I think, around the same time I did. So I remember when I was welcomed to the city, he was as well. And it's been great working with him, and Jennifer Lee as well, who is not here with us anymore, but who was also amazing. And all of your staff, Mr. Drapkin, I can't name all of them because there's so many amazing planners. Michelle Halligan and Mr. Yeager and everybody who I've seen up here, just phenomenal work. And Anna as well, and the other staff as well who've ran the meetings have just been amazing as well. And I'm really grateful that I've been appointed to this commission twice by two separate council members, which leads me to believe that people trust in me, and I take that trust very seriously. I've thought back to my role here, and I've on occasions had imposter syndrome in kind of thinking how a son of immigrants was able to rise to this position, and I'm just truly honored that I've been able to serve up here, as people have mentioned, with my expertise, but also with my personal life experiences that I've had as a Costa Mesa resident, somebody that was raised here, and I've lived my entire life here. It's truly a wonderful city, and I've definitely enjoyed serving up here and giving back to the community that shaped me. So it's definitely been great. And again, I wanted to thank my wife and my parents for their support, and other family and friends as well. And believe me all that I would have liked to have stayed here a bit longer, and I tried really hard to kind of set roots here. And Commissioner Zick and I have talked very frequently up here about kind of the importance of home ownership and being able to build equity, and kind of being able to have that begin to build generational wealth that you can pass on to your children and your children's children. And because of that same kind of dream that many of us have in the community, unfortunately, roads have led me elsewhere. As you all know, Costa Mesa is, can be is pretty unaffordable, especially for purchasing even a condo. So it was really quite interesting sitting up here during the affordable housing discussions, and on occasions I talked about the young people who were growing up in the city, who were from here and wanted to stay here, yet couldn't because of the kind of affordability challenge. And when I said that I was, definitely thinking of myself as kind of one of those case studies of people who would have liked to have kind of set roots here and purchased a home here. But I think that if kind of circumstances go certain ways, I may be back, but I definitely will always hold Costa Mesa in my heart, and everybody who I've met through my service as a commissioner and through my involvement in the community. So I just wanted to thank you all again. It's been an amazing time. I've really enjoyed it. And again, thank you for trusting in me, and those who are in council, staff, colleagues, fellow commissioners, and community. So thank you all, and that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Vivar. So there's no great way to segue from that into regular business, but we'll say that we will miss you up here, and that we all wish you a good chapter, next chapter in your life. That brings us to public comments. Matters not listed on the agenda, but are within our jurisdiction. So if you'd like to speak, please come to the podium, or if you're on participating via Zoom, use the raise hand option at the bottom of the screen. If you're joining the meeting on your phone and would like to speak, please press *9. You have 3 minutes. There'll be a bell when you have 1 minute left. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, planners. It's been suggested that a group would attend for this issue, but many seniors do not drive at night, so no group. My name is Shirley McDaniels, and again, I have comments on the proposed 4-story, 60-unit building on the Senior Center parking lot with Jamboree Housing Corporation. We all have the awareness. We know of the necessity for affordable housing for seniors. We just need the right location. It's not true that our lot is underutilized. Because of our parking location, we meet others' needs. Full lot at DMV enables people to park at the senior center and cross over. Parking on the west side, and then there's people that live on Plummer. When they get visitors, I see that they park in our lot, park in the senior lot, and go over to, there's a lot of apartments on Plummer there. Parking on the west side of Costa Mesa is at a premium. Navigating traffic on West 19th Street can be tricky, as we have many exits and entrances with 6 signals within a quarter of a mile. Also, a big concern would be 19th Street's infrastructure supporting that size building. And of course, planning would be you would be considering all occurrences and results. But thank you for listening.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Ralph Tabot, a longtime resident. Vice Chair Toller wasn't kidding. Jimmy Vivar is all decked out and looks like he's got a tux on over there. But I came tonight, I wanted to thank Jimmy Vivar for his service on the Planning Commission. Most of my interface work with Jimmy, though, is actually on the Active Transportation Committee. He's been on the committee for about 3 years or so, and been an active member of that committee, always making good suggestions, comments, observations. And I know he'll be also leaving that committee, and we want to thank him for his service on the committee. I think together, with his help, the city is making a lot of progress on active transportation. And so I want to thank him and wish him the best. Congratulations on your very recent marriage, and wish you all the best. And I expect next commission meeting, everybody to be dressed to the nines. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Good evening.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm here, I'm wondering if the Costa Mesa 2015-2035 General 24-126 plan includes the redevelopment having to do with the parking lot of the Costa Mesa Senior Center. And if it does, I would like the commissioners, it may be too late, but to seriously reconsider that. And the reason why is it's set forth as an economic development, okay? But there are no jobs going to be created. It's not going to add to the tax base by putting a senior center, a senior housing there. Everybody's going for basically free money. The seniors are going to get the benefit of 30% of their Social Security. The developers are going for free money, grants. When the land was first donated back in the early, I think it was the early 1990s or whenever, there were 10 developers that wanted to build senior housing there. And it was basically nixed. Instead, they built a senior center. So, I think it's a poor decision. It's in the guise of we're going to build senior housing. There's other ways to face the senior housing and low-income issue. It's not through redevelopment, or so-called redevelopment, by building that nice structure in the parking lot. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anna, do we have anybody on Zoom?
Hank Castanetti, you may provide your public comment.
Good evening, commissioners. I'd like to, I'm Hank Castanetti from the Orange County Model Engineers. We're the guys that run the little trains in Fairview Park. I'm here tonight to wish Commissioner Vermar my very best and thank him for his many years of service on the commission. Jimmy, I supported your reappointment this last time, and I want to thank you very much and hope that you come back and ride the trains with us in Fairview Park. Good luck, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
All right, anyone else?
No, there is not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that takes us to the consent calendar. We have one consent calendar item tonight. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless members of the Planning Commission, staff, or the public request specific items to be discussed and/or removed from the consent calendar for discussion. Items removed from the consent calendar will be discussed and voted on immediately following the Planning Commission action on the remainder of the consent calendar. So, consent calendar, March 11, 2024, meeting minutes. Do we have any comments or a motion? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written. And seconded by Commissioner Rojas. I have no comments. Commissioner Rojas?
No comment.
Anybody else have comments? Commissioner Zick?
I just have one comment, and I'm kind of squeezing it in here because we sort of passed our usual commissioner comment section. In the minutes, so I'll tie it to that, there was a public comment from Ida Wolf regarding the Jamboree housing project. Tonight we've had another comment, and I suspect we're going to continue having comments up until the time that this project eventually sees the light of day. And I have a suggestion for staff to consider regarding this, because the complaint is common to parking. If the building footprint has already been contemplated for that development, I'd be curious if there was a way staff could tape off the parking stalls that are impacted by that at the senior center to gain some insight into the actual versus the perceived impact of losing that parking. That's my comment, my suggestion. I'll be supporting this motion.
All right, any other comments? Then we will take a vote.
That motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you. That brings us to old business. There's no old business. There's one new business item tonight. And Anna, can you please read the title for new business item number 1?
New business item number 1, 2023 annual review of the Costa Mesa 2015 to 2035 general plan. Please note we have not received public comments on this item.
All right, and with that, I'll turn it over to staff for a presentation.
Thank you, Planning Commissioners. My name is Paivan Nantavaransi. I'm here to present the General Plan Annual Progress Report. I'm Principal Planner for the Economic and Development Service Department, Planning Division. I'm here with Bill Rodriguez, also with Caitlin Curley. With Public Works, I'm here with Sung Yang, and Jennifer Rosales is on the phone to answer any questions that you may have. The General Plan Annual Progress Report provides a summary of the city's actions that have occurred this past year. For this one, it would be year 2023. These actions are intended to show how the city has implemented the provisions of the general plan, including the housing element. It can be used to guide future decisions as far as funding allocation or showcase how we've implemented the written policies and are achieving its intended goals. The APR are reviewed and accepted by the City Council, are required to be reviewed and accepted by City Council, then submitted to the appropriate state agencies. The APR covers the city's actions between January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023. There's 2 major components to the APR. The first component is Table 1. It highlights all the city's actions that have implemented the general plan policies within each element. The second major component is the housing element to APR. This form is made by HCD, the California Department of Housing and Community Development. It summarizes the second year of the 6th cycle housing element implementation. It summarizes the city's progress towards meeting its share of the regional housing needs assessment allocation. It also tracks the development applications and building permits that are associated with residential units. It tracks them through from proposal to actual construction. It also summarizes how the city has implemented its housing element programs. We have about 47 programs that we have to implement within this 8-year cycle. So Table 1 highlights the actions for each element, which includes how the city has appropriate funds, pursued grant opportunities, engaged the community in various activities and outreach programs, highlights the approved ordinances that updates the municipal code, highlights capital improvement projects, and how we've reviewed discretionary projects to ensure that is consistent with the general plan policies. The table will show that through various city actions and approved projects that the city has been implementing the general plan, and it's an effective tool that serves for guiding growth and development within the city. Examples of city actions include how we've updated the zoning code to streamline development of accessory dwelling units pursuant to state law. The ordinance updated definitions and development standards to streamline EDU development. The city also updated the zoning ordinance to permit outdoor dining areas that were approved during the pandemic And we have implemented a streamlined approval process for the installation of new outdoor dining areas. The city also allocated approximately $5 million for the rezoning efforts to accommodate our regional housing needs assessment allocation for the next few years. Staff will be releasing the request for proposal to contract a planning consultant to complete this effort. This effort will include the creation of an objective design standards, also crafting the vision for various commercial industrial corridors within the city, and also the rezoning effort itself. It will also include the associated environmental analysis that would be required for the rezoning effort. The city also improved the pedestrian and bicycle mobility around the city for 2023. The city approved the design for bicycle wayfinding signage program. The installation of the signs are anticipated to be installed in 2024. The city also installed new traffic signals and hawk signals throughout the city, improved existing and installed new transit stops. The city also initiated a general plan amendment to update the circulation element to incorporate the pedestrian master plan by reference and include policies that would ensure future development will consider and include street design elements to enhance pedestrian mobility. That project was presented to Planning Commission earlier this year and will be presented to City Council in May. This table summarizes the number of building permits that the city has issued for the year 2023. We've issued 91 building permits and completed construction for 34 housing units, mostly consisting of ADUs. As a reminder, the sixth cycle RENA allocation is about 11,760 units, including 6,801 lower income units and 4,959 above moderate income units. So far for this sixth cycle, the city has issued 209 residential units, which includes 183 affordable units and 26 above moderate income units. All of the affordable units are accessory dwelling units. So far this cycle, we've approved 2 new housing developments that includes 5 or more residential units. Both are located within urban plan areas that allows live-work development. The combined number of residential units is 17 units. We've also made way and implemented a handful of our housing element programs. For example, the Affordable Housing Inclusionary Ordinance that was initiated in 2021. The city conducted 17 stakeholders meetings, 2 joint city council planning commission study session, and completed the draft ordinance. The first reading was approved by city council on April 2nd of 2024 and will be presented to city council for second reading in the following months. We have also retained LSA to review and analyze off-street parking requirements for multifamily projects to facilitate the development of multifamily development, specifically for affordable housing. That program will be presented to Planning Commission in fall of this year. The city also continued to work with Jamboree Housing to plan for 60 low-income age-restricted apartment units that will be located at the Senior Center parking lot. The conceptual plan was reviewed by City Council in February of this year. with the determination that the application may proceed through the planning application process. We also did initiate the Fairview Developmental Center project that was initiated in 2023. We received $3.5 million from the state to complete that project. It includes extensive community outreach and land use planning efforts for the reuse of the FDC site. We've contracted PlaceWorks to assist us in that planning process and environmental review analysis. We are currently in the community outreach phase of that project. The next one is the update to our zoning ordinance to streamline accessory dwelling units in compliance with state housing laws. We also created a dedicated webpage to assist the property owners in the ADU development. The website also has a frequently asked question and a nice summary table for development standards. The city also completed phase 1 of a motel conversion program for permanent supportive housing. Phase 1 converted 40 units for home key assisted units. Phase 2 will convert the remaining 48 units when funding sources are secured. So phase 1 is up and operating. The city also approved their tenant protection program in 2023. This program included an urgency ordinance, allocated funds to support the program, and created staffing position to implement, monitor, and enforce the ordinance. The tenant protection programs requires an applicant for a building permit to inform the city that a tenant eviction will occur. The city will ensure that the notification of a potential eviction is accurate and is legal. Staff will evaluate the building permit scope of work to determine the appropriate protection process. The city also increased the capacity for its homeless shelter, the Bridges Homeless Shelter, in 2023 from 72 to 88. It also secured additional funding to increase the capacity to 100 beds. The homeless shelter was also selected to be a part of the street medicine program, which deliver primary and behavioral health care to both sheltered and unsheltered homeless people. That program will launch in 2024. In summary, the general plan does continue to serve as an effective guide for orderly growth and development for the city of Costa Mesa. And future general plan review and updates are in the works to occur in the next few years to accommodate our arena obligation and address various state land use planning goals. The next step is to present this item to City Council. We anticipate May 7th as the City Council's date. That concludes staff's presentation, and we are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So the gist of it is this is a report that we have to submit to the state annually, and we're just recommending that council stamp it and send it off to Sacramento.
That's correct. A lot of the state grant funding does require an annual report to be submitted to HCD on a timely manner. The APR is due to the state April 1st.
Okay.
On April 1st, yes.
Okay. Yes. Which is behind us.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Commissioner Andrade.
Well, first off, I really do want to applaud the efforts of the department, leadership, the whole team, because it's really amazing to see this all outlined, all the work that we've been supporting you along the way, collaborating. So really awesome job. It's really great to see all the great work that's happening. I just had maybe just a couple of clarifying questions and maybe go down the line on having a better understanding on certain things. Really appreciate the efforts, the long list of items in the staff report, pages 4 and 5 on circulation element. The housing element, of course, is a really big topic as our city continues to struggle with a homelessness crisis. One of the things I was curious about is in the housing element section. So I think it's a long staff report on page 6. So if I understand it correctly, so since 21 to 23, there were about 208 units that were approved or built. And then within those, there's a good chunk that are, there's a focus on making sure that there's some affordable housing for low income and then moderate income as well. And I was just curious if you have any insight on why the pace? Is 200, I don't know, over the course of 3 years kind of average? Is it just lack of land or interest in development? Like, what would you attribute that? Or is that an average pace for a city our size?
I don't have the comparison data for if this is a good pace for the city of our size or not. We did implement our new TESA system that would improve our permitting process. So we could have more accurate numbers on how we have been approving the building permits and where we could improve.
I'll add a little bit to that. As far as a great number of housing unit development, that obviously there was a slowdown after the Measure Y was processed and approved there. But at this point, and definitely since we've had a modification to that, we've seen some changes and we've seen some development projects come through in the last year or so. We've got projects that have even come to the council for screening for, over 1,000 units. We're seeing other projects also an interest with them with redevelopment. Most of the projects in town are redevelopment. So it does take some type of effort when you compare it to, like, say, raw land, so to speak. But I will say that a lot of the housing development, this is standard for the city for the last couple of years. Before then, there was some developments that occurred that were entitled before the measure was approved that slowed down a little bit of development, required a vote of the people for certain development magnitude. But now we're definitely seeing some change. So
it seems like a turning of the tides now that after the city constituents has voted for Measure Y approving development in certain areas, we'll see some growth. And it sounds like a lot of creativity needs to be had as well, right? As you're saying,
right.
Rezoning certain areas that weren't original housing. So awesome job. And again, looking forward to how we can continue to support. And on that note, you mentioned kind of very exciting projects that are also outlined that the City Council and the office has already evaluated, like the Hive. And just a quick clarifying point. So on page 7 of the staff report, we talk about the prospective development that's going to have there, about 1,000 or so units, retail, open space. And then the last line on that third paragraph down, affordable housing is being contemplated as a component of the project. So I was curious, is there an opportunity for it to be recommended Or is this already in the hands of our developers and they're already moving forward with the project as is without consideration of affordable?
When we met with the applicant initially, they did propose some affordable housing, and it probably would come in the form of some type of a development agreement. At that time, there isn't an inclusionary housing ordinance actually currently, but there definitely wasn't then. So it was conceived that it would come through some type of a DA or development agreement, and the applicant was suggesting it. We're still working through the application process, so to what extent, we're not clear, but that's part of the process that we're working with the Hive right now.
Fantastic. And that's another great achievement that was great to review in the general plan, is that the team presented now to City Council the affordable housing ordinance. So that is what you're saying will kind of now be incorporated with this development or be taken into account. So great. Maybe for my own education and also the public's, what is the urgency ordinance? SB 9, what was kind of referred to from back in 21.
SB 9 is the urban lot split that the city or the state approved in 2021, and we adopted an urgency ordinance to implement the state provision for that. What it does is it allows single-family zone property of a certain size to split the property into two, and each of the parcels could have 2 units each. It also allows for a property that's zone R1, single-family residential zone, to also have an additional residential unit on it as well. So they could either split the lot and have 2 units on each, or have 1 additional unit.
Great. Awesome. That sounds like another great approach incorporated to, again, to be able to further develop housing. Again, just applauding kind of some of the comments that Commissioner Vivar mentioned, considerations about the bikeability, walkability of the city is absolutely essential. As we are a growing, thriving community, so having that accessible and truly embedded into this work is really great. And I also wanted to bring to note, we had a couple of community members that came out to speak on the senior housing development. Could you maybe point, where are we along with that project? I know that currently we're partnering with Jamboree Housing. You can go on that website, sign up on the Jamboree Housing website to get notifications about community feedback opportunities or to get in the loop on that development. So how can we maybe update the community on that point?
So the Jamboree Housing in the last couple months have had an open house at the senior where they explained the project. They've been processing the project for a couple years now. And finally, city council screening occurred, I believe, the last part of 23, if I'm...
February 2024.
Never mind. So time flies by fast. And the council obviously gave a nod that the project should continue forward. That's the process for the urban plan that it resides in. It has to go to council. There's a lot of aspects to the project, like a density bonus and some other requirements for the senior housing while working with Jamboree. And one of the next steps that planning is going to do is we're going to have a meeting with the senior center with the community who care to attend and give a follow-up and some direction with regards to what the project is and what the project is not. We might give a focus on the parking. Commissioner Zick's idea is actually a good one after considering it. I think that's a good idea. Really with the parking issue, it's, I don't want to get into too many details, but it really isn't What it is, the issue is now, it's with the growth of the senior population and the demand for the senior center that might happen in, say, 20 years. That's when capacity for the parking lot might be impacted. We've had some early preliminary traffic and parking studies that have been completed that the city contracted for, and that was the conclusions that we got. 2030, 2040, there might be some issues. Right now, with regards to the parking configuration, the 60 units consist of all senior housing, affordable senior housing, and a portion of it supportive housing. Probably little parking demand for the supportive portion. I can't say the same for the other senior housing, but Jamboree Housing did a demand study of some of their other projects and determined that this is what their parking demands were. And there was enough parking in their study and even in our studies, like I said, to accommodate the senior center at the most peak demand in the senior housing for now. But continuing forward, that might be an issue. The design of the project is a podium-style project where essentially the parking lot will, for the most part, not change. It'll be the same parking lot underneath it with development above it. That may or may not change as it comes back to the Planning Commission after the City Council review. The council was very supportive of the project and said they would be interested in seeing other changes as well to support senior housing. So that's a quick, boring report on that.
Well, I appreciate that. So definitely for the folks that are online and listening and really plugged into this development, I urge you to stay tuned. It sounds like City Council will get another round, and that's a great opportunity for folks to participate online. If you're not comfortable driving, it's also available on Zoom. So thank you for that. And then one question here on page 10 of the staff report, the Project Home Key. So great development. I know that that's another opportunity for us to address our housing crisis in our community and lifting our neighbors out, to have some dignity and home. So phase 1 is all done. Phase 2 will commence once additional funding resources are identified. I was curious to know, are there particular targets that the city is pursuing, planning? Like, what are the future funding opportunities, funding sources? I know statewide Prop 1 just came through. Would that support this kind of project, or, yeah?
Yeah, we are looking at different grant fundings for that project. This project is a little bit in my blind spot. It's handled a few floors above me, and they've been working on it rather diligently and processing through. I know that they have been doing significant efforts to try to contribute for the second phase of the project, and I think they're getting there from many perspectives. But to tell you the truth, I don't know exactly how far they are along with that, but it is moving quite along.
Yeah, definitely. The facade looks great, so I'm sure folks are excited to take the next step. And then finally, again, this is towards already at the end of the project, of the staff report. Again, applaud all the great effort. I really love the work that you guys put together, and of course our council that approved our tenant protection program. That's really huge, to provide citizens and constituents that kind of stopgap measure to prevent additional folks falling into homelessness. So huge appreciation for that work, and also our city leaders for approving it. That's going to be, I'm sure it's going to make a great impact. Do you have enough staffing for all of this?
Actually, the tenant protection ordinance, we've had a few submittals where we had to kind of peek in on, and it is a staff-intensive effort. Determining a substantial remodel when these projects come through is not always easy, and determining when there's going to be a 30-day period where a tenant might have to leave a site based on a certain magnitude of a development, it is complicated, and a lot of that effort is going to be in the development services, I'm finding out. So we're working very closely with the building department and a senior planner and many other staff that are helping out and assisting with the project. Nate up on the 5th floor, he's also working with some of these tenants very closely. And he sort of brought that ordinance to fruition, him and actually Jennifer Lee. They kind of teamed up. But at this point, we are initiating that, and it seems to be working pretty well. So I think we have a lot of lessons learned with it, but so far, so good.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and I imagine you're getting calls from both sides, right?
We do. We
Because
do.
then there's also the opportunity for tenants to reach out and inform.
And we've modified our online permitting system to check a box if any tenants will be
be evicted.
removed or not removed.
Yeah, so huge appreciation. I know lots of folks have comments on how bureaucracy moves, but that's a really great way to kind of make sure that departments are collaborating together and really be efficient and support the community. So, but overall, again, awesome work. This has been really a joy to kind of go through and know that we're moving the needle. Thank you. I didn't have any other questions.
All right, Commissioner Vivar?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, and I was able to take part in a lot of these discussions on the IHO, the PMP, some of these other things that were presented tonight. I just wanted to make, I guess, a pair of comments and questions. One of the comments is I know I've asked about this before, and I want to confirm again that I'll make it a comment that ADUs can be counted as affordable housing. It just kind of boggles me since, really anyone that builds an ADU can rent the ADU at any price, any kind of monthly rate, which doesn't necessarily guarantee affordability. I mean, it might be a technical thing where maybe this is something that the state is doing. Is that correct? Is this a state thing where ADUs are being considered affordable housing, even though they're not necessarily rent controlled, or basically anyone can rent them for whatever they want?
Thank you very much for your question, Commissioner Vivar. Our consideration of ADUs as affordable housing is actually based on a analysis conducted by SCAG, the Southern California Association of Governments, where they found that ADUs of a certain size and bedroom count and in certain parts of the area, specifically districts in our city, all combine to create a formula about whether or not an ADU is affordable or not. So when we have an ADU submitted to the city, we use this matrix right here on the PowerPoint to determine that affordability level. And again, this is based on SCAG analyses.
So the SCAG analysis was generally Southern California, not necessarily Costa Mesa, right? Just in general, Southern California.
Yes, SCAG is a regional
Right.
agency.
Right. And for affordability, I'm guessing they measured that. I guess they had data on rents, and they measured that against sort of median income and low income, and I guess compared those income levels to the rents. Is that right?
I believe so, yes, Commissioner.
Okay. My next question is about the tenant kind of, I guess, protection program. How many tenants have actually been assisted through this for any kind of potential evictions that have happened through redevelopment?
I don't think any really have come to completed at this time, but we definitely have slowed down some progress for potential tenant evictions. But at this time, I'm not aware of any evictions that have occurred or saved for that matter, depending on how you want to treat it. But yeah, we're still working through a couple of the applications that came on, about a handful.
The city has been in contact though with tenants who have reached out, or
We've worked through both sides, through permits that have come in, and then also through tenants that have come in, and then in some situations the same project.
Okay. Um, yeah. Okay, great. I wanted to ask as well about the pedestrian master plan. I know we looked at that. It was either 2 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. How soon is that going to go to a city council for first reading and second reading and whatnot before it's adopted?
We're targeting May 7th for city council.
Right. Is that for the first reading? Because it needs 2 readings, right?
For general plan amendments, I believe it's 2 readings, yes.
So first reading on April 7th, or May 7th, sorry.
May 7th.
May 7th, right. Okay, and maybe this is a question for Jennifer Rosales or Mr. Yang, but how soon after the PMP is adopted to the general plan would the city be able to pursue grant funding for active transportation related projects? Because I know that that's one of the big things that was presented to us here, that the PMP needed to be adopted in order to pursue kind of pedestrian related or bicycle related grant funding.
Yep, Planning Commissioner Vivar, this is Jennifer Rosales. Yeah, as soon as we're working on grant applications as we speak this week, which we're including the pedestrian master plan as a draft. However, there's there's active transportation program grant applications for this SS4A, which is a federal grant, which is a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant. And as soon as we have the pedestrian master plan approved, we can show it as an approved plan, which certainly helps for the points and the scoring.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Rosales. And are those grants for particular projects or just in general to, I guess, have money in the city's fund for active transportation related projects?
Planning Commissioner Vivar, those are for specific projects.
Which would those be?
So for the one that's the SS4A, the Safe Streets for All grant, we're looking at a package of projects on the west side, which includes Victoria Street. It includes, and we're working on it. Brett Atencio Thomas is working on the application. I'm trying to remember everything that was included in the package, but it's a package of about 3 projects on the west side that are included as part of this. And for this particular grant, it does have a significant amount of points for communities that are in their census tracts that are considered to be more disadvantaged and of a lower income. So it's to help in those types of communities, which we have census tracts on the west side, which is why we're including a large package of projects, or a package of 3 projects for the west side in that grant application.
All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Rosales. And that's it for me, Mr. Chair.
All right, Commissioner Zick, do you have questions?
Thank you. Yeah, I've got a couple. I was going to start also with this topic of ADUs being counted as affordable. I guess if you're allowed to do that, why not? You get credit. But as Commissioner Vivar has mentioned numerous times over the course of probably the last year or so, these aren't really affordable units. I'm looking at this slide 14, and I'm not really sure I even understand how it is that SCAG did an affordability analysis and how we're relying on it. I don't see anything in here about cost. So somebody builds a 800 square foot ADU, you call it affordable based on what? How do I read this table to understand that that is accurately an affordable unit? Or is it only size based, has nothing to do with the cost?
That's correct, Commissioner Zick. It is based on the size of the ADU, its number of bedrooms, and then which council district the location is in.
So let's say a developer came in and built a 1,000-unit apartment complex and every unit was a little teeny tiny 1,000 square foot unit. Would we be able to count all those as affordable because they're teeny tiny, regardless of what the cost to rent them would be?
Commissioner, if these units were ADUs, then yes, depending on their size, their district, and the number of bedrooms, they could fall into these categories.
Okay. All right. Well, as long as we're able to count them, I guess that's what matters. I had a question on top of page 3, where you're referring to the housing element, updating the general plan. And what caught my attention was the statement that we want the document to be effective for guiding orderly growth. What's meant by orderly growth, or maybe the converse of that question, how would I know what disorderly growth is? What would be signs of disorderly growth that we're trying to avoid?
I'll take a stab at that, Commissioner Zick. That is language that's in the general plan currently, and it basically means that growth that is accounted for by virtue of the transportation network, by public facilities, having the amount of infrastructure to accommodate it, that's located in the proper areas to support housing, those type of characteristics.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. Then I think my last question, I've got comments, but this is a time for questions, so I'm trying to limit myself to that. On page 9, where you're describing, and it was part of your presentation as well, you're describing program 2M. And the sentence that caught my attention, which I need help understanding, is that this is a project to revise the zoning code's requirement for residential off-street parking, meaning on the land, for multi-family projects to facilitate the development of multi-family housing projects. And it's expected that the revision is going to be complete by fall of 2024. So it sounds like you already know what this is, and I don't have a clue what this is. Certainly from this explanation, I don't have a clue. So could you enlighten me? What is this revision that we are apparently charging ahead with?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Zick. When the housing element was adopted, you may recall that there was a program, there was actually 47 programs, but one of those 47 programs was that the city look into our parking requirements and specifically study if our parking requirements are a constraint to the development of housing. And one of the ways that we're doing that is we've contracted with a housing consultant to prepare a housing analysis that evaluates actual parking demand for certain types of multifamily housing projects, real life projects, empirical data, and really trying to forecast where actual parking demand is in relation to our parking requirements citywide, specifically for multifamily. So right now we have a study and we're reviewing it. They've compared a few projects both in the city and outside of the city. But in response to your question, we don't know just yet, but we are reviewing for it.
Okay. And as part of what they're looking at, the situation that has necessitated the city's permit parking program, where we have underparked developments and what some people like to call overcrowding, such that people can't even park in front of their own property. Are they looking at that as well before they decide to reduce off-street parking requirements?
Certainly that would be an aspect of what might happen if you're underparked. So they're definitely looking into that as a consequence. But up front, they are just studying what the actual parking demand are for these types of units, and really how many garage spaces or parking spaces are being utilized throughout a certain time frame.
Is it conceivable there would be no change to the zoning code requirement, or would that be wishful thinking?
No, it is conceivable that'll happen. Actually, many projects have been approved under our current zoning ordinance with certain exemptions for parking in the DAs and development agreements, such as where we've allowed for less parking requirements than the code. Certainly when they submit for a density bonus project, they can have very specific exemptions for parking waivers and such. So yeah, it's definitely possible that the parking ordinance would stay the way it is.
Okay, no further questions. Thank you.
All right, anybody else up here have any questions? Okay, I'll zoom in on just one. I think this is the big one. At the bottom of page 3 of the staff report, it looks like there's a $5 million plan on the horizon, half of which has already been appropriated. And it sounds like it's for a full general plan update, a zoning code update, and the environmental impact report for that whole effort.
What it is for is a zoning code update in compliance with our city's RENA.
Okay, so that was kind of my question. Is this really just to get everything lined up with what we just went through with our RENA and housing opportunity sites and everything?
Yeah, for the most part, it could be a two-phase effort where we prepare an overlay of our housing opportunity sites and upzone those density requirements. We could go more laser focused and specifically change our zoning from area to area, like along Newport Boulevard or along Harbor Boulevard. We've looked at a couple ways of going about it. And really at this time, we want to weigh both approaches. One approach is obviously faster, the overlay, and it probably could get our housing element certified a lot quicker than trying to do it spot by spot. But we are looking at both approaches. We're also looking into this budget objective design standards to be completed, and like you said, the EIR that will go along with it.
Okay. That's the only question I'll have right now, and we'll open it up to public comments. So, if anybody has any comments on this item, please come up to the podium. You have 3 minutes, and a bell will ding when you have 1 minute left.
I'm speaking about the parking building by Jamboree project, housing on parking lot of the senior center. Okay, if you proceed with what you're planning with, at some future point, as Scott was saying, that there's going to be a greater demand. Now, if you give up the parking now, you're going to have to find another senior center or additional parking, which is going to cost millions of dollars. So, you know, I really suggest that you leave that parking alone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom?
No, there's not, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then I'll close the public comment portion of the new business item. And I guess I'm closing the public hearing, aren't I? So we'll bring it back up here. Well, our task tonight is to send this off to City Council, recommending that they approve it and send it to Sacramento. So do we have any other comments, questions, or a motion? I see a motion made by Commissioner Vivar.
Yes, the motion is to send this to City Council for review, as is.
Does that work? Is that language good? Send to City Council for review? And do we have a second? I will, there we go. Commissioner Klepak seconded it. Commissioner Vivar, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation about the staff. I know that this general plan update thing includes a lot of information, the inclusionary housing ordinance, pedestrian master plan, among other things. So glad that we're able to send this off to City Council to keep it on track. That's it for me.
Commissioner Klepak.
I'll just echo what was stated earlier. It is very impressive to see this entire presentation, all the work that was done in this past year. So thanks for all the diligence that went into this and all of the work of everybody that for each of these policies and the things that have been approved. So just wanted to recognize that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will also thank staff. This was really cool to be able to see everything we've done over the last year parsed out by whether it's circulation or planning or housing in just 10 pages. So that was good to see. I think it's good for the public to see. Anybody else? Comments? Commissioner Zick.
Thank you. Yeah, I would echo those comments about the level of effort. I've commented in the past when we've done this review that it would seem to me that based on the amount of goals and objectives that are in this document, that you probably need a staff of 75 people to be working on this, and I know you don't have 75 people. That said, I'll be supporting the motion because I recognize that this is a sort of a check the box effort in terms of satisfying the state with actions and activities relative to our general plan. That said, there are a couple of things that that I have a general observation about. In the context of this observation is the idea of having goals and objectives. And in a performance context, if you've got goals and objectives, you evaluate progress towards those from an accomplishment standpoint and achievement standpoint. And I understand the challenge you have, so I'm not being critical of that challenge, but I find it difficult to read about a goal or an objective and then see next to it activities that I feel like don't really tie to that. And if I was trying to evaluate a person's performance to that goal and objective, I'd say, hey, you're working hard, you're doing a bunch of stuff, but you're not doing the stuff that achieves this goal. I think a great example of that to me is when I look at land use objective LU1. And we have as a stated goal to preserve the character and density of our residential neighborhoods. Yet we take great pride in passing an ordinance for ADUs that pack additional structures in kind of a catch-as-catch-can way into existing residential neighborhoods. I recognize we're desperate for housing, and when you're desperate, you have to do stuff like that. But I would hardly think of that as being an accomplishment consistent with a goal to preserve the character and density of a residential neighborhood. And similarly, the objective right below that, to strongly encourage the development of residential uses and owner-occupied housing. Again, what are these ADUs about? These are rental. This is income for people. This isn't, to me, this is not indicative of an accomplishment towards that goal. Yet here it is on that page, purporting to be that. I think another example of a concern is LU 2.6, which says, encourage increased private market investment in declining or deteriorating neighborhoods. And those of you who were involved and helped work on the inclusionary housing ordinance would be aware that there was discussion about in lieu alternatives for developers that did not want to build affordable units. One of those in lieu alternatives that was originally discussed had to do with exactly this, investing in declining or deteriorating properties or neighborhoods. And we had a city council member that said, no, take that out. I don't want that. And understood the logic and the reasonable idea behind the concern, and that was, if we upgrade these deteriorating neighborhoods, rents are going to go up, people are going to get displaced. Can't have that. So let's keep these deteriorated neighborhoods with depressed rents. But that isn't what our goal is. Our goal is to encourage investment in these declining neighborhoods. So what is it that we're doing about that? I'm concerned about that. I don't think we really are doing something about that. And then, of course, we have this other land use policy 6.3, which says to continue to prioritize commercial and industrial use of properties north of the 405. Continue to prioritize commercial and industrial. Well, that's not what we're doing at all. We're prioritizing residential projects up there, giant apartment complexes, and the more the better is what I'm seeing. So I have difficulty, and there's other examples I could cite. I have difficulty when I look at our general plan objectives and goals, and I don't see our actions being consistent with those goals. I think that's problematic. But I'm just one vote. I'll support the motion, though.
All right, anyone else? I think Commissioner Zick pointed out a few points of dissonance between what our city's done over the last year with the general plan. And general plans are tricky things. There's so much in there. There's so many ideas that get in there from so many community meetings and so many different opinions. There's always going to be internal dissonance. I imagine that if we had taken opposite actions in the last year, we would have been able to pick out points of dissonance with those opposite actions in our general plan as well. And that's where I think we in council and community meetings and staff come in and kind of chart our course through the general plan while staying as faithful as possible to it. But like I said, these are weird, tricky, hard to manage documents. And I think, personally, I think that we're doing a good job. It's easy to, any of these projects, we could have just been spinning our wheels on and wasting money for years. But we have a lot of things to look back on and say, hey, we made some progress here. So I think everybody that worked on all this should be proud. So with that, Anna, will we take the vote?
That motion carries 6-0.
All right, thank you. So I guess that is on its way to council. That's it, right? We'll move on to departmental reports. Mr. Yang, you're up.
Right. Thank you, Acting Chair Toller. No formal reports from the Public Works Department, other than to say on behalf of the Public Works Department, I just want to thank Commissioner Vivar for his honorable service, not only with the Planning Commission, but also with the Active Transportation Committee as well, and all your significant contributions to our Costa Mesa community. So thank you very much, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Godspeed.
Thank you.
And I defer back to the Acting Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yang. Mr. Drapkin, Development Services Report.
No formal report, Vice Chair, but I would also like to echo the sentiments about Commissioner Vivar and his stay here. It's been a proud time to work with him. And over my career, I've brought up a few commissioners and had an opportunity to see them evolve. And I really appreciate working with Commissioner Vivar and his amazing memory towards things. I've tried to challenge him on many separate occasions when he knew and didn't know, and he always passed crazily. And so to that, you'll be greatly missed. And I hope you and your wife have a very, very happy life. And I'll be calling my friends in Anaheim to look out for you.
Thank you.
All right, last but not least, City Attorney report, Mr. Preziosi.
Thank you, Chair. I want to both say thank you very much to Commissioner Vivar for his excellent service, his inspirational service on the Planning Commission. I also want to wish him congratulations on his recent marriage. I want to wish him all happiness and success in life. That is the end of the City Attorney's report.
Thank you, Mr. Preziosi.
All right, thank you, Mr. Preziosi. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting of April 8th. Thank you.